Welcome to the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Monday, May 2nd. This is Gina McGuire. Over the last week, we've seen continued wet conditions across the Great Basin, especially across the eastern half of Nevada, Utah, and southwest Wyoming, even up into portions of Idaho, where most of the southern half of the Great Basin has seen well above normal precipitation over the last 7 days. Further north into the central Idaho mountains, much less precipitation has fallen. Looking at the water vapor satellite loop for this morning, strong high pressure dominates the western U.S. However, a weak area of low pressure moving across the southern area of the Great Basin will continue showery activity today, again over the southern half of Utah and Nevada, into possibly the Sierra. However, another area of low pressure off the west coast will continue moving eastward. This will bring increased wind and precipitation from west to east across the Great Basin, along with cooling temperatures as we move into the middle to late portion of the week, which will also continue into early next week. The ventilation index for today will reflect that ridge of high pressure dominating the Great Basin, with relatively low dispersion or poor dispersion across many areas due to the lighter winds underneath the area of high pressure. However, areas over the Snake River Plain and even into portions of Nevada where winds are a little bit stronger will see slightly higher ventilation indices. Looking at the individual components of the ventilation index, the transport winds on the left, and again under high pressure we will continue to experience lighter winds in most areas with the exception of parts of southern Idaho. Also, the mixing heights will be relatively low across Nevada into western Utah, but a little bit higher as you move further north and east across the Great Basin. Looking at Tuesday, this ridge of high pressure moves slightly further east as this trough of low pressure off the west coast begins to approach. This will allow winds to begin increasing mainly across areas of northern California into far western Nevada, with still relatively poor dispersion over the eastern half of the Great Basin under this ridge of high pressure. However, ventilation indices will be increasing from west to east. On Tuesday, as we can see in the image on the left, again the transport winds will be increasing along with that surface wind flow as that trough approaches, especially over the western half of the Great Basin, with improving mixing heights. As we move into Wednesday, the ridge of high pressure is now pushed into the Rocky Mountain area, with low pressure beginning to move into the western half of the Great Basin, allowing for increased dispersion and also bringing precipitation back from west to east across the area. Also, as this ridge of high pressure starts to shift east, we'll see temperatures decreasing as low pressure moves into the region. By Wednesday, winds will be increasing in all areas of the Great Basin, again as that trough approaches, with the strongest winds across Nevada. Mixing heights will also be increasing as well. If we look at the forecast clearing index across Utah for the next few days, we can see the reflection of this increasing wind and mixing height from left to right, going from today through Tuesday. Again, still poor dispersion across all of Utah. However, we'll see a dramatic increase by Wednesday as those winds increase. Looking at the overall forecast amount of precipitation over the next few days, most of that precipitation will be focused across Nevada and Utah, with generally amounts less than 1/2 of an inch of precipitation. However, as we get towards the middle of the week, we'll start to see that precipitation increase in the Sierra into far western Nevada, and eventually spread from west to east as we go through the later portion of this week and through the weekend. Now looking at the weather pattern as we move from Thursday through the weekend, this broad trough of low pressure will slowly move across the Great Basin, and this will keep wet weather along with cooling temperatures across all areas as we move from Thursday through the weekend and even into early next week. Also, with this area of low pressure moving east, we will see wind flow start to decrease as we move towards the weekend, and again ventilation indices with these decreasing winds will also decrease across the region. Therefore, expect poor dispersion in most areas as we move especially through Saturday and Sunday, along with continued wet weather and cooler temperatures across most areas of the Great Basin. Looking at the overall forecast amount of precipitation during this time period from Thursday through early Saturday, and we do see most of the precipitation is focused over the northern 2/3 of the area. However, it looks like all areas will at least see some light precipitation, but totals over an inch of precipitation will remain again focused in the north and the west. Looking at the outlook as we move towards the middle of the month of May, and we'll continue to see these warm conditions in the north and west. However, still wet weather will continue across the Great Basin at least through the middle of the month. That concludes our briefing for today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Thank you for listening.